we do more, like, when we did the courthouse, some other big buildings, like cost is definitely a factor. Cost and reputation kind of go hand in hand. And you did say, and it is a good point, you get what you pay for. I remember my first boss, who was a professor of mine that I interned with, he used to say, you get what you pay for, especially when you don't pay much. So cost isn't the only factor. It is important, but for the type of buildings that we try to do as a firm, like, you want a reliable product that's going to last and isn't going to have problems, and it's worth paying more for.
So this system for this particular client, they're not doing anything in front of the wall, so they don't actually provide the commode, right? And here's what I understand about it is that you could put the height of the commode anywhere you would like to, and they also have the ability to have a pneumatic adjustment, so you could actually adjust it even after installation. They're strictly for the behind-the-wall plumbing portion of it, the tank. And
so they're not making the actual, like, water closet.
Correct. They're looking at partnering with some folks that do those parts of the commode system, but they're strictly the behind-the-wall plumbing system. So, do you have any idea of pricing for that portion of this?
Now, when you say behind the wall, are they saying just providing the roughs, or do they provide the roughs and the finishes?
Just the roughs, and I think the finishes for the wall too. Yes, they do some of the wall too.
I guess it would depend on what's entailed with the system. And what sort of, commodes you're talking about fit in with the system. Because another problem with toilets, in general, like we were talking about, the toilet hasn't changed much.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question would be, like, what sort of companies make toilets that don't have tank assemblies, like, and that also would work with their system? Because a lot of companies, you see the standard toilet with the little T-shaped flusher everywhere, kind of because it's a standard thing. It's like, so if there are a limited number of toilets that work with their system, it could completely change the price point going on. And could make people balk at actually using the system. So in something like that, price and compatibility would probably be very important.
Okay, so my understanding is that they have various partner opportunities with folks like Toto and others, and things like with Duravit and Gerberite and some of these names I don't even know how to pronounce. But the price point that I've been told here is at around $250 for the behind-the-wall portion.
I mean, if that comes with a finished piece, I don't think that would be unreasonable at all.
Does it make you feel in any way that it's not valuable? Because you mentioned that the low price thing there earlier.
No, not necessarily, because when you get into big construction or like larger buildings, price can be relative, because a price point of $250 might change when you have someone who's building a high rise and they're ordering 200 some units, or I mean, if you're building each of your bathrooms per floor, if you're talking men's and women's, you maybe got total for the floor, say you got 10 units per floor, but you're going up 30 floors, you're ordering on a much larger scale.
Well, how about in the multi-million-dollar mansion market?
Multi-million-dollar mansion, the price doesn't give me any pause. What would give me pause is the system, potentially. One of the things with the like multi-million dollar construction is you run into a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. You really like, if your friend who built a house in this development used, let's say they used a waterworks sink in their bathrooms, and now that's the new sink. You'll see a pattern of the next couple houses that seem to come through. Like, that's the sink.
So there is some demand from the actual owner?
In the high-end residential, there is a lot of demand from the owner. Down to, there are some products that are brands that we will recommend for durability. And depending on where you're building, and availability, because like a lot of high-end houses now are being built in the Caribbean. So, you could have this flashy system, but you have to have the local people there be able to service it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what's something that could make a toilet difficult. You can put any standard toilet anywhere in the country, and in a bunch of places in the Caribbean, and probably in most places in the world, and you're probably going to find a plumber who can handle fixing it. You introduce a new system, and now you have to find tradesmen in certain markets, and just a lot of the markets we work in, like working in the Caribbean, you just have to find a tradesman who's able to use it. And so breaking into the market can be difficult.
This particular client is worldwide, and a lot of their equipment is popular throughout Europe. And as you've been to Europe, I'm sure.
Oh, that's because Europe's so much further ahead of us when it comes to, bathroom fixtures or layouts, cabinetry for kitchens. Like we're always trying to catch up with that, because it's just, certain things are a hard pill to sell to the American market. Like, they've got a way that something's always been, and that's just the way it's going to be for them. We're very pig-headed and stubborn about the things that we want in houses and what makes a house a house. I mean, one thing that, just case in point, a couple of years ago, Kohler came out with this thing they were calling the Hatbox water closet. It was supposed to be the toilet that didn't look like a toilet. It was like a hat box. It looked kind of like a porcelain trash can with a lid. It was all enclosed system. And you put it next to a wall, and it didn't even have any buttons noticeable on it. And it was supposed to be so the water closet could be in the bathroom but be out of sight, so you didn't have to see the unsightly toilet. We had a client ask for one because it was the big thing. It was all the rage. They put it in the house. They put it in all of their bathrooms. After the first time they had guests stay with them, they replaced them all. They had company come stay with them, and their guests couldn't figure out how to open the toilet because the lid on it was closed, and there was no discernible way because it wasn't familiar to them. And that's an extreme example, but obviously, like, a toilet fitting on the wall still looks like a toilet. Like, it's not a big leap, but even a small leap can be difficult for certain people, like parts of the American market.
So what's the best way for us to reach you and the buyer, with our message about the system? And maybe what should that message be?
Well, it depends on what the system does. Is there any information on, like, its water usage? Or, whether they have LEED certification?
Okay, so you want some basics on that. I can tell you a few things about it. In that, first of all, it does have a high velocity because you can put the tank higher up the wall, right? So you have more velocity on it. I do know that it is, it has press fittings, and so that means there's less chance of it falling apart on you because of the way it's pressed fit together.
Yeah. Instead
of screw fit, right?
Yeah, it's a better connection.
Right. And it's run by a engineer type hierarchy. So they're really wanting to reach into the AIAs and the architects of the world and figure out how how to get you guys aware of these things and connected into them to where you want to buy them. One more thing they're thinking here is maybe even they could offer CEUs for subscribing to a newsletter. And just to, is email going to get you? Is
Email will start. I think will help. There are a lot of companies that do like the email. You get these they're like cold calls, but in email form because they work. You see a new product, whether it's the last one that comes to mind, and we don't use it often, but there's a company, Sonoma Forge. They do a lot of stone, but they happen to make shower fittings, like outdoor shower fittings that are durable. They had a better looking foot wash than we were able to find from anyone. And it popped up in an email. And we always have clients, because we do a lot of work by the beach, asking for nice, discreet foot washes for their houses. Popped up in an email. And then we started using it. So, the emails come through, and, they keep coming, and while I do delete them, you scroll through them before deleting them, because you never know what's out there.
What should we say to get you to open it?
These days, I think if you're going to try to sell someone on a new toilet system, I think something that would make it worthwhile, I think, to not only the professional community, but also to the consumer market, because ultimately that's who we have to sell it to, is water usage. Water usage is huge right now. I mean, we're just a couple months. I mean, California has been all in the news as having a record drought. They keep talking about the amount of resources that we use in bathrooms is exorbitant. They just redid the bathrooms in our building to do higher efficiency water closets with the dual flushing, so you use less water. And it is a big deal. It's important. I mean, it's important long term. That's another thing, like LEED. When people see LEED certification, is very important to larger buildings, and they vary. I think it goes up to platinum. It's like LEED platinum, LEED gold, silver, and maybe bronze. And because we have a responsibility to build buildings that are going to be more efficient in terms of using energy and using resources. So, yeah, a water closet that not only uses less water would be important, but durability, that, like you mentioned, is important. Like a fitting that's going to last longer, the lifespan of the product, particularly in a public building, because while the product might be a little bit more expensive than the traditional system, you can always sell someone who's interested in building a durable building. You can sell them on the idea that, yeah, while this might be, 20% more or 25% more than the traditional system you're used to working, that you're going to reinstall 3 traditional valves in the lifespan of this product, or 4, whatever it may be. So in the end, you're going to get the longevity out of it, and that's going to become important because you're not only conserving the resources in water, but for every new valve that you save having to install, you're also conserving all of the energy and materials that go into manufacturing that. And what happens to the one that you replace? Because not all of these things can be recycled or reused. And I think that the profession it was kind of slow going, but more and more you're starting to see things get into, they haven't even been sure how to put a proper term to it yet, but it's equal parts ecologically and environmentally responsible, energy responsibility. It's big. It's one of the main things pushing LEED. Mm-hmm. Getting in touch with LEED people would be huge, because that market, there are